Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Art Lector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of The Heroes, Joe's second standalone, and the next First Law entry, and we cover Just Desserts, Black Calder, and Retired. So let's get started. Hey, everybody! We want to thank you for your support, and your devotion.
Something about this feels so forced. Like, we normally are so genuine when we try to be like, hey, thank you so much. But something about today just feels kind of forced, you know? I don't know what it is.
Is it possibly because we've just done this about half an hour ago and realised that we weren't recording at all?
No, I can't be it.
That is my fault, ladies and gentlemen. I completely forgot to hit the commands like an asshole. Oh, but we shall forge on as the great podcasters we are, and we just want to continue to thank you all for your continued support. We want to shout you out for your, following and joining us on this journey. And just we want to remind you to, usually follow us on the social media pages and on our YouTube page and and yeah, hit us up for the Discord link, by the way. That's been growing, actually. And Harrison, I think you were saying something like it's cool to see how it's grown, right?
Yeah, it's nice to kind of reach the precipice where we're no longer just like, there's like 5 guys on a Discord like, haha, look at this funny thing. Now it actually is a little more organized, and I think that people are enjoying the breakup of having the different stuff. And George contributes way more than me and Jeff. I don't think Jeff even talks to us unless we're recording the podcast. So
Stop it.
It'd be like the day of. Can I reschedule? Jeff, are you alive?
Barely. Yeah, but so if you want to join the Discord, hit us up. Send us an email at circletheworldpodcast@gmail.com, or just hit us up on our, message us on our social media platforms, and we will send you the link. And by we, I mean George.
Eventually. It might take a while because apparently people just can't add me on Discord for some reason.
What do you mean?
Right.
But the last 3 people have been like, "Well, I can't find you." It's like, well, that's the only information I have that Discord's given me, so I don't know.
Were you able?
So we'll find a way.
Did you get the last guy? The last person?
Yeah, no, I've just sent them a request.
Okay.
And they'll be in there soon.
Okay, perfect. So yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's lovely to see the Discord growing. See a nice little community that we've built.
Yeah, it's actually been really cool, and like everyone's like chill, friendly and everything. And then we got the different. It's been organized, right? Like the different. What would you call them? Chats, topics, discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So it's not just everybody talking about Trump like everywhere else on the internet constantly.
Yeah. So yeah, just go ahead and send us an invite and join us, and we'll be chilling together like friends. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is our community interaction segment. And really, what we're doing is we'll just do what we normally do, right? We talk about the meming every chapter. I guess extravaganza that goes on in the House of the Meme Maker Reddit, right? Subreddit.
Absolutely. Make sure you keep up with that. It's obviously nearly over because it's been reasonably keeping up with our episode structures, so it's roughly around the same point. But we're getting to the end now, and there's a lot of good memes to be had. So get out there and contribute, you little fuckers.
Yeah, contribute, you fuckers. And join the House of the Meme Maker subreddit if you haven't already, so you can participate. And then, as well as the First Law subreddit is a good one to take part of, right, boys?
Yeah.
And
So
yeah, if you're a pleb.
if a pleb.
Only the true chats join our Discord.
this is the exclusive club.
This is for the true fans.
No, but it is interesting to see. Obviously, if you listen to this, you're into our kind of sense of humor, and like a general outlook, like the way that we talk about stuff, and it's interesting to see, 15 or 20 people that have that same outlook, all interacting all over the world. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I was floating the idea of doing some merch recently, and a couple of people were interested. So if anybody fancies getting a mug with our logo or one of our faces on it or something stupid like that,
It needs to be.
obviously we can't do any like official Joe Abercrombie quotes or anything like that because we don't own it.
Yeah, I mean, we could do some things that like no one would ever catch, like just a drink. No, I mean, how are you gonna patent that, But that being said, we do want to know if you guys want us to do it, because we probably would just lose money on it if not enough people get it, and we probably will still only break even. And as much as I would love to have a whole bunch of mugs with Jeff's face on it. I already have plenty, so I think that other people will need to see Jeff's face on a mug, or other cool shit, like ours emblem that which Jeff did make, our symbol and all that, our art. Yeah, that'd be cool. And if you guys, I mean, we don't give a shit. If you guys want some of the random AI out of Instagram on something, I'm sure we can make that work. It'd be fun. So.
Yeah, we can also throw in a vibrator if you guys want.
Buy 20 mugs with Jeff's face on it and get a vibrator that says,
"You're my man."
I'm sure that's available on the Redbubble store. A customizable vibrator.
Or capital, and the dildo should say "You're my man." That's it, I think. And
the side of it, the side of the dildo is like property of Artie Glockta. Obviously in heavy use due to the lack of other stimulation.
Oh my god.
As George has said on multiple occasions, this is why we don't get offers for advertisements anymore.
The most unsponsorable, probably not the most unsponsorable, actually, but
There are,
so funny.
dildo is mainstream, but there are other things you could put things like how's the leg onto, or I spent 12 years in.
We should offer crutches that says and engraved with how's the leg.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of creative things we could do. Okay, give us ideas. Let us know if you want to buy.
Give us ideas, yeah, and if you're interested
in
buying
we will put the upfront investment in. We'll do it if you're willing to buy it.
And we'll price them minimally. It's really more just about having these things in people's hands. It'd be so fucking.
That's a legacy right there.
Grandma, what's this from? Oh, back in my day.
Go ahead, squeeze it. You're my man. You're my man. You're my man.
Oh, and it vibrates.
And it just Stephen Pacey's grunts as well. Like,
squelch.
Squelch. Squelch.
I have a new friend. The guy that's segueing here, I did have a new friend. Not a new friend. I had a friend who is new to the First Law series, who we're reading it at work, and he's been listening, and he was like, he just got past the part with Pharaoh and Logan, and he was like, I kind of wish it was a little shorter. I was like, yeah, it's meant to be a little awkward. I kind of like it for that. He's like, no. He's like, I'm talking about the and I was like, I busted up laughing. I said, there's a whole discussion on Reddit whenever you get done that you can go find. Anyways.
But you're right though, it is for that, isn't it? It feels so fucking awkward when you're reading it or when you're listening to it. You're like, oh shit, yeah, no, sometimes sex is like that.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, unfortunately, from past experiences. Anyway. So we'll move on to our first chapter read through, which is Just Desserts. Boys, do one of you want to take the opportunity to read this letter? I mean, this is not in Gorse's handwriting, but it is.
This is
it's his
so
reading.
It's a letter from Giselle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Actually, it's not from Giselle. It's from the High King of the Union. fan.
Of course, yeah. No, I love how it cuts off at the end. I'll just say that, but I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
My dear trusted friend, it gives me great pleasure to tell you that the circumstances have arisen in which I can invite you back to Adua, to once again take up your position among the Knights of the Body and your rightful place as my first guard. You have been greatly missed. During your absence, your letters have been a constant comfort and delight. For any wrong on your part, I long ago forgave you. For any wrong on mine, I earnestly hope that you can do the same. Please let me know that we can continue as we were before Sapani. Your sovereign, the High King of Angland, Stargland, Midland, Protector of Westwood, Dagosco, His August Majesty, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, etc., etc.
King of it all!
Queen of the Roinar, the Andals, and the First Men. Oh, folks. So obviously, this chapter is from our boy Gorst's perspective, our favorite incel or our most hated incel. Not sure yet. And he gets this letter, and he is ecstatic. He is crying and smiling and hugging this letter to his chest like it's a newborn baby. And it had been dated 6 days ago. So this letter was on his way before the battle, right? Before the first day, before everything with the fords and the old bridge.
And before we knew anything about Sapani or anything like that, like the whole thing has been completely pointless.
Right, at least that in the fact that we knew that Gorst was involved in Sapani. Right.
Well, it's his entire arc, his entire thing of like trying to get over his weird little obsession with himself being, what is it? It's this inferiority complex.
Right, but he always it's always the blame, like he's been wronged. How could he?
Yeah.
It's
like I am a dreadful scapegoat.
yes. Oh, yeah. And so then and that's what he says. He goes like, "I have what I deserve." He says to himself, and he busts out of his tent, full of just tearful joy. Vergen and Younger are like, "Oh, what's going on? Are you all right? Is it what? Did you get bad news?" And he's like, "Good news, the best." And he hugs them both like super tight, and he's like, "We're going home, boys."
Yeah, it's a Wonderful Life going on.
I can this next bit here when he walks out of the tent, I can just hear sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. He does that thing where they jump up in the air and do the little kick.
The bell click.
Yeah.
And actually, since you did that thing with the bit of the song, George, it reminds me of that other song where it's like, I feel pretty and witty and gay.
And gay. Oh my god! If they ever make a film, that's definitely what it's gonna be.
If they ever make a film about the heroes, it's gonna be the most bipolar, off the wall shit ever. I killed a man.
At this rate, it's gonna be
I'm
half a
gay!
musical.
I love war.
We'll get to that. And yeah, I like how the first sentence of the next after the next break is like Gorst walked with an unaccustomed bounce. This man is jolly. He is skipping, folks. He is born again, and he's so like joyful and it's very evident. I guess there's something about his person, like the way he is right now, that people around him like, oh, it's Gorst, it's Gorst. He says even like the camp followers, aka ladies of the night, aka prostitutes, are blowing him kisses, and he's blowing them back. He's snagging them out of the air. He's bumping guys on the shoulders. He's like, yeah, well,
people are exulting him. They're like, it's Gorst. Look, it's the hero Gorst.
He's feeling himself, and then he sees Colonel Felnig, and who was now General Felnig. And he's thinking back about like maybe he'll do what he should have done, which is challenge him to a duel or something. But he goes, nah, nothing can ruin this day. And he's like, General Felnig, congratulations on your promotion. And then Felnig's like, oh, thank you, Colonel Gorst. I wanted to let you know very much. And then Gorst is like, yep, sure, okay, whatever, bye. And he just keeps walking, and he's just like yada 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 yee. And then he goes to the surgeon tents because he's looking for someone, and who he's looking for is Finry. And he's like, he knew what he had to do because he had no fear now, because his burdens. He's been unburdened, right? And he's like, Finry, Finry. That's what it says in the book. And then she looks, she goes, "Oh, Bremer, you look happy." And then he's like, "Oh, girl, don't you know it, girl?" And he goes, "I just wanted to say that goodbye. I am returning to Adjua this evening." She's like, "Oh, really? Guess what? So am I." Well, as soon as
I like the idea that Gore says that he like throws back his hair over his shoulder. He's like, I'm going back to Adjua this evening, you know. And Fenrir's like, oh my god, like grabbing his hands, girl.
girl, stop it. Guess what? So are we.
What? What do you mean? I mean,
right.
what do you mean?
Right, because she goes, well, as soon as Hal is ready to be, he's well enough to be moved. And then he's like, "Oh, good, good." Internally, he's like, "Fuck him." No, he's like, "No, no, no, forget him. He's nothing. I'm the winner, and this is my moment." And he tells her that he received a letter from the king this morning. And again, she goes, "Girl, so did we." And then she like seizes him by the arm. She goes, "Hal is being restored to his seat on the open council. They're making him Lord Governor of England." And then Gorse, there's like a long, uncomfortable pause for Gorse, and he's like, "Huh, Lord Governor?" And then now, like, the day is not quite so warm as it was a moment ago. And then she goes, "I know. And there's going to be a parade, apparently." And he's like,
and he's like, "Of cunts."
he goes, "Yeah, a parade of cunts." And then he goes, "He deserves it. You deserve it." And then she goes, "Oh, your letter? Well, tell me about it. Come on, spill the tea, baby." And then he goes, "Oh, the king has asked me to take up my old position as first guard. Uh, yeah, that's And she goes, "Oh my god, that's wonderful news. Like, I guess war's like full of opportunities and everything. So, however terrible it may be." And then he goes, "I thought," and then it's like kind of like crashing through him now, and he just says, "My success seems quite meager now." And she is like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like, you know, rain in
Yeah,
the parade or
undermine it.
whatever." And then he says, "I'll never have anything worth the having, will I?" And she's confused, and she starts to say something, but then he goes, "I'll never have you." And he said
She's like,
it.
what?
She goes,
She's like,
"What?"
what the fuck?
She's like, "What?" And her eyes, went wide. And then, who wants to take this next little part? Because Gorse then kind of just says he goes, "Fuck it," and he starts by saying, I guess either Harrison or George.
I'll never have you or anyone like you. Then let me be honest. War is terrible, you say. Shit, I say. I fucking love war. In the dreamy yards and drawing rooms and pretty parks of Ardua, I'm a squeaking fucking joke. A celestial embarrassment. A ridiculous cloud man. But on the battlefield, I am a god. I love war. The steel, the smell, the corpses. I wish there were more. On the first day I drove the northern back alone across the ford. Alone! On the second I carried the bridge. Me! Yesterday I climbed the hills. I love war. I wish it wasn't over. I wish.
And then, so yeah, Gorse kind of just like lost his shit there a little bit. This is where we talk about the incel aspect of him, and it really kind of came to play. And then, so he's starting to like, he's staring down at her, and then he's like, "Fuck, fuck." And so then he turns to like leave, but Finry's hand's still on his arm, and she's not letting go. And now her fingers are digging in, and her face starts as Joe writes, her face hard with growing anger, jaw muscles clenched, and she asks him what happened in Sapani. And now it's Gorse's turn to kind of like blush, and he goes, "I was betrayed. I was made the scapegoat after all my loyalty, all my diligence," and he couldn't really say anything else. And then she goes, "I heard when they came for the king, you were passed out drunk with a whore. I heard it was not the first time you had disgraced yourself, and that the king had forgiven you before, and that the closed council would not let him do it again. God of the battlefield, eh? Gods and devils can look much alike to us little people. You went to a ford and a bridge and a hill, and what did you do there except kill? What have you made? Who have you helped? Didn't say anything until Gore says nothing and no one. He whispers it, and then she goes, "So, you love war, huh? I used to think you were a decent man, but I see now I was mistaken. You're a hero." And just turned.
Nice.
Yeah, she stabbed him in the chest with her index finger, and just like turned and walked away with just apparently excruciating contempt. Um, and just left him there standing all by his lonesome self. And he just looking around, and everything that all his happiness, his joy, his elation just floated away.
George,
And
you wanna talk about this last little part here where he's
Yeah.
thinking to himself after she says that to him, how he feels.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, I think this is a fantastic, just an absolutely brilliant ending for Ghost. Look, this is exactly what he deserves, and I love that it's Finry that gives him his fucking just desserts.
It's
You know?
just desserts. Mm-hmm.
Nice reference.
Because it's you really see the full scale of his pathology here, where he's immediately, even though he's got exactly what he wanted, he's upset because somebody else has got it better than him.
Yep.
So it's that awful, like I said, it was a bit of an inferiority complex where he has to not only succeed, he has to succeed more than everyone else in order to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants
And
to
I
have
think,
it all, and he never takes blame for his shortcomings.
but he never really works on anything, you know.
Nope.
You know, he says he'd never have anything worth having. But you've got to work for those things. You can't just keep doing the same thing you're doing and expect it to work.
Yep.
Which is exactly why I think this is a fantastic ending, because it's a really good lesson for people that come, and there are a lot of them that get into this attitude.
What they
You know,
deserve.
you got to blame everyone else. I deserve this, and I blame everyone else for my problems.
I was made the scapegoat. I was unjustly stripped of my
Yeah.
position. I was so loyal. And it's like,
I,
buddy.
That said, I think you know the bit where he said that he was caught in Cardossis. I could easily imagine just Al going, "Oh, go on, Gorst, have the night off, or whatever," and Gorst going, "Oh, yeah, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So I can imagine, you know, we don't hear that here, but
Yes.
we'll talk about sharp ends when we get to sharp ends. But
Right. Right.
Yeah.
no, I just think it's absolutely fantastic. I love this revelation, and I love the fact that Gorst is one of the long line of Joe Abercrombie protagonists that have a really fucking shit ending.
Yeah. He. I really like how he is so. Like honestly, he's just pathetic. Like he gets the thing he wants finally. He instantly goes to show it off. He's like talking to everybody. Oh, I'm so happy. The outside view, everyone's like, oh, look at there's a hero. There's our Gorst. And he goes to Finry, not to share with Finry, not truly, but to brag. And then as soon as he finds out something's better than his thing, which it's just so silly in the first place, he immediately shuts down and then acts like, he has got all this bravado and like, look at me. And it shows how thin his character actually is, not from a writing perspective, but because all Finry has to do is just look at him for a minute, and he shuts down, and then she goes, "I heard that this was the case," and he just is like, he's like Morty,
Mm-hmm.
No man, maybe, fuck you, bro. And I think I totally agree. Like he totally deserves this. He is very much scum. But I really love. I think that line. I thought you were somebody. I was mistaken. You're a hero. I think that fits so well because the hero, like Joe, juggles so many themes and terms in this book, like subtly. He's used the term hero so many times in so many different contexts for good and bad, and it just fits so well here. In the context of this book, Gorst is a hero, but Finry and him know the real truth, and that he is absolutely a little incel scumbag. He will never change because he's a narcissistic little asshole. And I love that. It's great.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, you guys put it succinctly, so I don't know how much I can add to it, but this is the culmination of all of Gore's denials being, laid bare before him, right? To himself, at least. And even then, like
Mhm.
you said, George, at the end, he's to himself, he's saying, like, am I doomed always to feel like this? And a most uncomfortable thought occurred. Like, did he feel like this before Sapani? Like, like he's
Definitely.
Is he putting this up on a pedestal as if this is the cause of all of his problems, even though those problems have always been there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think, as much as he is hateable, I really do more than anything feel sorry for Ghost. Like I pity him because a lot of the problems that he has is because he has this insecurity about his voice, which is something that he can't help.
Mhm.
But how many
So
people
I'm
actually
not-
make fun of him for his voice?
in the heads, pretty much everyone that listens to him.
Yeah.
So he is kind of justified on that. If we see another character's perspective on him, they're like, "What the fuck is that voice? That's the highest voice I've ever heard in my
Right.
life."
Which we have seen that, and I think if he would have
But
just, Mhm.
but he doesn't actually know what other people are thinking. So he's
No,
really
he
just
does.
making
No,
fun of
no, no,
himself.
no, no. But no, I don't mean it. Like, but that's what I mean. He's pitiable and hateable in the best kind of way, where you still kind of. I don't root for him necessarily, but I just want him to sort out his problems.
Right, he's internalized a
And
lot of it.
because he can't in a very, very relatable way, I just think that this is such a good piece of writing.
No, I
Yeah.
hear you for sure.
It is.
Which
yes.
is why I'm going to give this one
Mm-hmm.
a 9 and a knuckle.
Ooh, a 9
It's
and
the
a
best,
knuckle.
in my opinion, the best chapter in the book.
We've never gone past a 9 there, George.
Yeah,
We have done before.
What?
We have done, definitely.
9 and a knuckle.
Yep. We definitely because we said the joke was that he only lost
Oh,
a little bit,
well,
so he's still got one knuckle.
well, what do we do that for?
I've never done it.
I think it was the Fenris the Feared fight chapter.
Okay, maybe.
I think we have done before. Do you want me to redo that anyway? Just so
No,
that...
no, you're good. I mean, listen, you're going off. Listen, you're a trailblazer. Do your thing. 9 and a knuckle, and I'll accept the
I'm
explanation.
sure we have done that.
So I mean, that's a George special right there, folks.
If not, a 9 then.
All right. Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Fuck you, Jeff.
What? I'm not. I didn't say anything.
He's being supportive.
He was mad supportive, but he's like, "Fuck you, you piece of shit."
Don't
Wow.
support me.
Sorry, I guess. Ew.
I don't need your pity.
I'm joking.
All right, Harrison. What do you rate? What do you rate this?
I don't like chords very much, but it is very satisfying. I'm going to give it a 7 and a knuckle.
7 and a knuckle. Okay. Okay. I was gonna give it a 7. So
Nice.
it's a very good chapter. It is a very good chapter. So and it's like it's Gorse, but it's like Gorse getting like the title of the chapter says, his just desserts, and it's by Finry. Which makes it all the more like
It's so
twisting of the
satisfying.
knife. Because if like who even if like what Rogan or younger would have said something like that, don't think it would have hit that much, right? And there's not really anybody else that could say anything to him. And maybe no, not even Jallenhorn because he didn't know him like that. So no, it had to be Finry, and I'm glad it was Finry. So yeah, 7 and 9 fingers for me, and that's the first chapter read through. We'll move on to our next segment.
I do have one other thing to say about it.
Mhm.
And that is, I love that Giselle pops up in here, but he is not. His name is not stated. And I love.
I think that's the case in Best of Coved as well. Like he says,
Yes.
"Oh, it's the king," but you never actually say his name.
Same thing. Same thing inside Red Country. And it's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I do really like this is so tragic, Giselle. It's so perfect. Yeah, it's incredible how Joe's able to capture his character in such like literally like one paragraph. He's just like, he's like, oh, finally, like even as Finry says, the open council or the close council would not let Giselle forgive Gorst. Giselle is so desperate for this companionship, and Gorst is so like oblivious to it that, or at least takes it for granted in a certain way, that he was willing to forgive him multiple times of instances of him being, a drunk and off duty and all that, because he wanted somebody who connected to his past, and that is so tragic and so sad, and it's even more tragic that Gorst doesn't recognize it. But it's also so sweet that Gorst does recognize it whenever he says, "Can we be like we were before Sapani?" Because obviously there had been a drift between them, and it's so sweet, it's so tragic, it's so Giselle. And I really like that he includes this letter, and Pacey of course did the Giselle voice, which is a perfect little nugget of Easter egg,
Nice
I
little
guess,
callback.
to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
inside of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. That was good. It was good. We should have talked about the letter from Giselle more, but that was a good perspective, Harrison. Good job. That was good. But that's our first chapter read through, and we'll move on to our next segment, which is best meme of the week. Georgie boy, that's you. Take it away.
This person is very quickly becoming the new Tam Elmore. We've got crates of Bigfoots again.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, yeah. And it's
Oh,
another Trump one as well.
oh, it's another Trump one. Oh, all right. Who wants to introduce it? I wonder who could introduce it.
Well, it's the the now infamous picture of Trump holding up his board of tariffs, but instead it says Trump is Leo, and the board says winning tactics, and there's only one entry, and it says charge. Which
My
is
name is Leo
kind of-
Dambrock. I love a good charge. They do really well. I said, let's bring cannons. They said, why don't we charge? I am merely a champion of the people. Yes, if in case you're wondering, Trump does fit really well with Leos, in a whole different way.
I still think it would be better as Ladislaw, but
It would, as always is.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It always
drive
fits better
them
as
back
Ladislaw.
over the border. But how could you?
We need to drive them back over the border. But yes, Leo is good. You would totally see this, right? I can see it happening now. And at the end of Age of Madness, everyone is like, "Man, what are we gonna do?" Leo, what's your plan? We need tariffs. Tariffs is what made the Union strong. We need to bring them into the new age and carry us into victory. We're going to be putting a 50% tariff onto Gurkel. And even though Stericland is a lovely people, and they may seem like they're one of our countrymen, we need to charge a 20% tariff for all those rebellions. Syria,
Oh my god! All right.
Monza, we need to make peace with Monza.
Nah,
She's a
he
bitch.
wouldn't. Yeah, he wouldn't want
But
to make peace with her.
we can charge 90% tariffs and with no consequences.
No, he would say something like bomb, get him with fire and fury or some shit, right?
If she doesn't comply, we will go over there, burn her crops, burn her castles.
But yep. So thank you for that meme. That was a great meme. We appreciate that. Crater. What was it?
crates of Bigfoots.
Crates of Bigfoots. Love that. It's a great name, by the way. Great name. I just blanked on it, but great name. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is our second chapter read through, and this one is Black Calder. So obviously, this is from the perspective of Calder, the new king of the Northmen, and he's hanging out with Shivers at the end of a bridge, and Shivers just says to him, "Just give me the nod." Calder's like, "The nod," and Shivers goes, "Mm-hmm, the nod," and it's done. Simple as that. And Calder's like, right, simple as that, right, right. Just nod and you could be king, nod and kill your brother. Because if you remember from when we last left off, Bias was like, an elder brother is a mighty encumbrance to have if you're, trying to be king. And so he's like,
Which is odd because with the whole thing with the North being, you follow.
yeah, I was
who
just
you
thinking about
follow.
that.
I didn't know male primogeniture
It's
was a thing in the North.
it's not,
not.
but I think because now that like people are following the son of Bethod, then like wait, shouldn't it be the elder son? I don't know where that's coming from. So it's a bit of
So
it's like it's
it only
jarring.
comes from Bethod. So it comes from Bethod only. But Calder is like obviously him and Scale both want to carry on their father's legacy. So if that's an ideal that he wants to have, they want to carry that on in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I
Or and
guess.
they're also obviously selfish in a way. But
Yeah, I just it's I guess yeah, when Bethel was king, he probably did like, decree that his sons would be, next in line. So I guess so. But then he died, then Logan was king, and then Black Dad was protector of the North. So you would think that would just kind of like that would just mess up that would I don't know, jumble up the line of succession, but I don't
I
know.
suppose it's like the rule is reverted, so we've got to do what the last guy said that was related to this guy.
Right, right. So I guess so. I guess so. So anyway, it's a nice day, because there's peace now. There's that river that the old bridge crosses, and Calder sees that there are Northmen just chilling in the stream, but then also Union men. They're all just chilling and like having a great time. He's like, "What the fuck is this?"
I like how this says that they're almost close enough to splash. Like they're all just going to be sort of like splashing each other.
Marco, Polo, Marco, and
That's so stupid.
it is, and now that he's getting close to he's thinking about all the months and everything of like plotting and preaching for peace and everything. Now he finally has it. It feels like a burden because he's obviously distracted and struggling what to do with Scale, right? And then Shivers points out Scale, and he's like, "Isn't that him?" He's like, "Oh shit, that is him." And we see one man on the bridge, just one man, and it's not one that Calder recognizes, but it is Scale. Uh, he basically he was withered, shrunken, greasy hair plastered to one side of his head, and he had a limp before because of that hit he took in the thigh from Logan back then, but now he's just straight up shuffling sideways, dragging his left foot.
like a crab. Oh my god, guys! First in Blade,
Like a
the blade
crab.
itself. That means crabs exist in the First Law universe. We forgot about that animal. Glockton mentions it a few times. All right, side tangent over.
You're
Continue,
good.
Jeff.
You're good. And so, and he had like a blanket barely covering his shoulders. Man, remember he's missing his right hand, right? So he just has his left hand, just has a stump. And then Calder rushes over to help his brother. And Shivers also is like, just give me the nod. And Calder's like, and so he goes up to Scale. He's like, brother. And Scale's like, what the fuck? He's like, Calder?
He goes up to him and he says, "Brother, the oats, brother. Did you eat the oats while you were gone?" Yeah.
So yeah, so Calder essentially, he's like, "Yep, it's me," and he gives him his cloak. He clasps it around him, and he, he feels like so bad for Scale, especially missing his hand, and then he looks about his own broken hand from the fight with Dow. And then Scale's like, "What happened to your face?" And Calder's goes, "I took your advice about fighting, and it worked out painfully for all concerned." And then so Scale goes, "All right, so it's over. The battle's over." He goes, "Yep." And he goes, "Who won?" And then Calder goes, "You know what? We did." And so then Scale goes, "You mean Dow, right?" And then Calder goes, "Nah, nah, Dow's dead." And Scales goes, "What? In the battle?" Is like, no. He tells him basically no. After he went back to the mud, uh, you know. And so he goes. Scale asks him who took his place, and Calder goes, "I have. They've taken to call me Black Calder now." And Scale's mouth just drops open. He goes, "Black Calder." And Calder's like, "Yeah, let's get you on a horse seat. Come on, let's go." And then he looks at because Shivers is there, so he looks at Scale, looks at him, and goes, "Are you two on the same side?" And Shivers, he puts an eye to his cheek and like basically like bulges his metal eye out a little bit. He goes, "Just keeping an eye out," which is
Shivers can't help himself with the fucking puns, can
he
he?
really cannot. Nope. So yeah, and so Calder helps Scale get on a horse because obviously Scale is wounded, obviously, and they start heading back up the track, and Calder's going through a lot of things in his head, right? At this point, he's thinking about growing up. He's thinking about all his desires, his ambitions. There was plenty of times growing up that he was embittered by the idea that Scale, since he's eldest, that according to Bethod, Scale would inherit the North, right? That kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
and Calder is, now he's kind of like dealing with that turmoil here. And then as he's looking around, he sees, he catches Shiver's eye, and Shivers kind of raises his chin a little bit, and he's like, "Do you want me to do it yet?" And Calder just like looks around, he's like, "Fuck, I can't." Even. And so he's thinking about like, he's killed men before. He killed Broad 10 ways. He ordered Forley the weakest killed for nothing but his own vanity, and so like killing a man when Scarling's chair was the prize shouldn't have, made his hand shake. It shouldn't have made him so nervous, right? And
Yeah.
then Scale breaks the tension a little bit by asking him why didn't he Calder help on the bridge? Why didn't he come? And Calder tells him, he couldn't. He wanted to, but he couldn't because there were men on the across the stream right on their flank, and but he couldn't go, and he is sorry, and he meant that the wanting to part, lying, but he is legitimately sorry. And then Scale kind of goes, all right, well, looks like you were right about everything, I guess, in terms of the fact that the world needs more thinkers and fewer heroes. And then he looks at Calder and he says, "You were always the clever one." And then Calder goes, "No, it was you who was right. Sometimes you just have to fight, right?" And he's just thinking to himself about like how get what you can with words, which is what Bethod said, but Bethod always also said, but the words of an armed man ring that much sweeter, just like Scale had said.
Hmm.
And Scale goes, well, when you're young, you think your father knows everything, but now Scale's starting to realize that maybe he might have been wrong on more than one thing, right? Look how he ended up after all. And Calder goes, yeah, very true. And then as they're still like trotting or cantering along, and at some point, he, Calder's just like fuck. It's even getting to the point where it's like there's not that many people around where it could happen, right? It's about to happen. And Scale was starting to he's starting to talk. He goes that you were the one that took after Bethod. Scale tried, but he couldn't ever really do it. And Scale said he always thought that Calder would make a better king. And Calder whispers to himself, "Is like maybe," but internally he's like, "Yeah, definitely, I would be." And Shivers, he gets real close now. One hand on the reins, and the other hand resting on his hip, but his fingertips just happen to be brushing the grip of his sword, the same sword that was Black Dow's and that was Logan's, the Bloody Nines. And Shivers raises an eyebrow, and he's asking the question again. And Calder, man, everything, his heart's pounding like crazy, the blood surging behind his eyes. And now was the time he could have everything he ever wanted. Bias had been right. You don't get to be a king without making some sacrifices. Calder took a breath in, held it now, and he gently shook his head. And Shiver's hand just slid away, and his horse dropped back ever so slightly. And then Calder says, "Maybe I'm the better brother, but you're the elder." He pulls up his horse close to Scale. He pulls out the chain, Bethod's chain, from his pocket and puts it over Scale's neck and pats him on the back. And then he just thinks about, he's wondering like when did he get to love the stupid bastard? When he got to love anyone besides himself? And he lowered his head and he said, "Let me be the first to bow before the new king of the Northmen." And Scale just like kind of like is like, "What the fuck?" He looks down at the diamond that's in the center of the chain, and he goes, "Never thought things would end up this way." And Calder goes, "End, brother. This is just the beginning." And that's where the chapter ends. Boys, how do you rate it? Give me your thoughts.
I like this end for Calder as well. Joe's getting more optimistic in these days, isn't he? Yeah, as time goes on, he gets a little bit more optimistic with his endings.
Uh huh. Yeah, yeah. I think this decision
I
from
think
Calder will bite, some people in the butt, but whatever.
I'm sure, but I like the fact that he chooses to put his ego aside because he cares about his brother.
Right.
Like he's not just he's grown as a person, and it's a very good and very thoughtful ending, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the fact that he recognizes as well the practical side of it, where people are more likely to follow Scale. You know, people might like him now that he's there's been this big shift of power and now he's in charge. But after a while, people are going to start to
You think so?
question him. So I think maybe having somebody there that is like you said, an armed man. Well, if they have this partnership where he's the brains and he's the brawn, Pinky and the brain, you know.
I think you're right. I think he does take that into account, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but you also do agree that the main reason he does it is because he doesn't want to kill Scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read it as he
More
just
than
didn't
anything
wanna
else.
kill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I agree. I do think Calder takes that into consideration. I think that's true.
you know what? I don't know. I think by this point he is the man. Right before he gives that chain to Scale, I mean Shivers takes Scale out, and then Shivers he is a loyal man as long as you don't insult his pride, right? He's got Call Ricci, he's got Ironhead, he's got the War Chiefs on his side, he's got Stranger Come Knocking who's definitely on his side, especially with Baez, pulling the strings. I think Calder would have been pretty well secured. I think I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
but
I could be wrong.
I just think like the way that the Northmen are, like after like 6 months, a year, it's just like this Calder guy's a bit of a scrawny bastard, isn't he?
Oh,
Should we just just kill him?
he's a scrawny bastard. I mean, maybe, yeah.
I mean, that's the way it works when your hierarchy works on who kills who.
It's kind of true. Yeah, I think that I like this scene a lot because I kind of know what you mean. Like Joe's getting more hopeful, but I think that this is a good case uh, where a character is making a decision not based off of who they think they are or who they want to be, but actually who they are, and that's actually what makes it a special moment. Because Calder is, if he was doing the thing that a lot of Joe's characters do, which is like, I have to do this, I have no choice, and most of the time they go through with it. That's what makes this so. I think it's a really beautiful moment for him to put family first, which I don't really care right now, but the sharp ends, we know that, and he even says it in this book too. But Bethod did the majority of what he did because he wanted to make a better future for his sons, genuinely. And yeah, he had some power hunger and all that stuff, but genuinely, he wanted everything to go to Calder and Skill because he loved them. And for him to put his family first is also simultaneously the most Bethod thing that he could do, honestly. And I think it's so sad too. Like Scale is so broken, he's so done. Scale probably in the back of his mind kind of knows. He didn't even notice that Calder had his father's chain on him, like wearing it. He's so fucked up that he didn't even notice that. And now, granted, at Scale, he's not observant or something, but he's not an idiot, not a complete moron, not truly. And
I mean, he only lost his hand like 2 days ago.
right,
He's probably malnourished and half drowned and whatever.
no doubt. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
But it's. I think that Scale kind of knew that something bad might have happened or could happen, and I just think that's what I think it makes it really beautiful that he just gives him. Not only does he keep him alive, but he makes him king. It's a huge deal, and I think it's really special. And it's not very often in the whole story that something like this happens. And yeah, there's a price for it, and that is obviously we'll see that play out. Um, but like with everything, like in George R. R. Martin stuff, love is the death of duty, and vice versa. And there's just a lot of themes and ideas here that play really well into a moment where, the thing we love reading most about human beings is the human heart and conflict, and to see the human heart pick right for once in a story like this is I think it's really beautiful. I think I really like it a lot. So I'm gonna rate it a 9 because I think it's
Oh,
really,
wow,
really
okay.
good for that reason. I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I remember first reading that. I thought maybe he let him go. He's like, brother, go. I think that it is. It could have totally gone the direction of, all right, brother, I am going to let you go. I saved your life, but I'm going to be king, or you had to be my subordinate. The fact that he only let him live and then made him king is so significant on a character level.
Hmm.
Calder truly does. He has learned to love and appreciate people, and understanding in life. And yeah, he's completely out of balance, but it's good.
Again, Joe's getting soft. These good endings for
soft it
horrible,
is.
horrible people.
All the worst people get the best endings.
And we love it.
Um,
I'm gonna give it a 9 as well for all those reasons.
I was originally gonna give it an 8, but do I want to ruin a trifecta? I don't know if I want to do that.
Jeffrey, make the score however you see fit. You're not
Don't
gonna
let the
ruin
politics
anything.
influence you.
Yes,
Fuck it.
don't
It's
be
the end of the
swayed by
book.
peer
It's the
pressure.
end of the book. I'm letting the politics influencing me. I'm giving it a 9 out of 9 fingers. It is a fantastic chapter anyway. Who gives a
It's
fuck
really
how
good.
short it is? Really? Who gives a fuck?
I'm so proud of you, George.
He's, I mean, yeah. Let's. It's fantastic, right? Do we? Is there really anything to?
There's nothing to add.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about
Yeah.
it.
No, that's great. So
Goodbye, Calder.
Bye,
goodbye.
Next time you show up, I'll fucking hate you. So.
Yeah, so let's move on to our next segment, which is our character spot. And boys, who are we highlighting now?
Whole Shivers.
Interesting choice. Why so?
Well, we'll see him in every book basically from here on out. He'll probably always get a character spot. Shivers is a fan favorite for good reason. We see him kind of as a stagnant character in this book. That is always Joe's characters are never truly stagnant, and they're always doing things. And Shivers is kind of played up to be like, oh, look at this big tough guy. He's done his character arc. He's angry now. Oh, look at him. And instead, he is the fucking like linchpin of the entire last act where he kills Black Dow, and he wasn't played up by Baez. He was completely of his own free will, his own choice, and all just for his pride. Shivers is an absolute badass in this book. He's super intimidating. He is like, this is whenever people think of Shivers, this era is like his peak, and it is his physical peak as well. You know, he's in the, he's probably, what is he now, 30 or so ish, roughly.
Just about
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah, he's maybe a little bit younger or so.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see this person go through, and he's got these little moments where, yeah, I'll kill that guy. He makes these little puns here or there. He's still got a little humor. He's in his mind, he's discovered himself, and we're seeing him embrace who he is. He just hasn't actually realized the kind of person he can be, and that's really cool. Transition period.
I mean, each iteration of Shivers we see, he's, when we first see him in the first trilogy, he's a optimistic guy, generally speaking, but he's there because, he switches over to the Dogman's side, to the Union, because Bethod's, up to some weird ways with that witch and just taxes and things like that. He had his internal struggle with, like siding with somebody like Logan. But he refuses to, kind of like fully betray Logan like that. If you remember at the end of Last Argument Kings, and then we see him obviously best served cold. He started out optimistic and decent in a way, but a man still got his pride. And then, well, at the end of that, all he had was his pride. Let's just say. And then seeing him, like what Harrison said, like in this, yeah, you can say physical peak. You can, but at the very most, this is the most intimidating version of Shivers. He's the most like terrifying. Although I'm not gonna like talk too much about his next appearance, even though it's like very brief. He has brief cameos, I guess you could say, in his next book, that they're pretty intimidating, in of themselves as well.
They're a
So
little more reserved. Moving.
yeah,
I
more
think
reserved.
it's like he's got the worst of both worlds when it comes to his two kind of main modes in Best Served Cold. Like he's still optimistic in the way that when they're going into the fight, like is he scared? He's just like yeah, whatever happens.
Yeah,
So he's got that kind of optimism, and he's got the humor, like you say. He makes these humor out of this terrible things, like making the joke about stabbing that prisoner,
hmm
and he's just like not really having a laugh, but doing it because fuck it, why not?
right. Yeah, I mean, and the optimism I was thinking about was like when he first got to Styria, and he's like, "I'm gonna be a decent man. I'm gonna do something different than killing people." Two chapters later, he's killing somebody.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But he still kind of like reflects on it
Right.
badly.
No, he
Whereas
does.
by this point, I feel like he's more like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. He's become a nihilist. He's read too much Nietzsche.
He's read too much Nietzsche. Is that what you think? Yeah, that's funny.
It's
Yeah,
true.
well, I mean, Shivers,
Yes.
he's a great character, and we'll see more of him. We will see more of him, and he's a central character to the first Law series, and it's always nice to like highlight him and just like see like how he, we thought. I mean, I get he was Black Dow's man for the most part, but obviously all those remarks about being his dog on the side, Dow fucked. I will say, Dow fucked up by not making better use of Shivers, right? And not
I find that really interesting as well. I think that's a really interesting, like, the fact that Black Dad doesn't insult Shivers to his face until that last moment.
Yeah, yeah. Normally he doesn't, but then he did, right?
But because everyone else says it,
Right.
it's become like normalized.
Well,
So he says it like it's not a big deal, and he doesn't realize like what a big fucking mistake he's made.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And because the thing is like once Dow said it, then it's
Oh yeah, shit.
it's
No,
in
no,
front of your
that's right.
face,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's now
Otherwise, it's just rumors, isn't it?
right, just rumors, other people, and Shivers can deal with that. Even he can deal, I mean, he wasn't obviously like happy being passed over for a second, but if Dow doesn't say that, right here, dog, or whatever, I don't think, or like my dog doesn't, I'm surprised my dog didn't eat you in the night. Uh, I don't think if he doesn't say that, I don't know if Shivers kills Dow.
I don't think he would
I don't
because
think he would.
he's literally he chops his head open and says, "I'm nobody's dog."
Yeah.
So it's literally that
Yep. Yeah,
one
literally
phrase
that. Yep.
that sets him off.
So my heart breaks for Dow, but Shivers, like you said, a man's got to have his pride. So
Yeah, you've got to have job satisfaction. That's important.
a work-life balance.
Some respect.
That's all he's asking for, just a little respect. But Shivers is the homie, and I'm not gonna say we hardly knew ye. Well, we hardly knew ye, but we really know ye. So, and we'll continue to know ye. So we'll move on to our third chapter read through, which is also our final segment, and this is Retired. I wonder who this is about. Oh, look, surprise, surprise!
Boy.
Imagine. So it's our boy Kerndon Craw, and he's in a house. It's not by the water. It doesn't have a porch. It does have a bench, with a view of a valley. But he just thought he when he sat on the bench with his pipe, he didn't think about the work he enjoyed doing or anything like that. He just thought about all the men he buried. And then so listen, our guy he's doing this thing where he joined came upon a village and became a carpenter like he said he wanted to do, right? Upon retiring. He's like, fuck this. Uh and he's, building stuff like his house, a chair, table, stuff like that. I think we could all confidently say he's not very good at it. Keeps smashing his hand and stuff.
It's interesting, right? Like I'm just gonna some of this I'll summarize. I'm not gonna it's got all the same vibe the whole little chapter here. He's basically like talking about how the people in the village he's staying at, yeah, it's kind of nice, and they're all nice to him, but really it's just because he's a sword, and he's a name man. Everybody know who he is because he's been around a long time. And he talks about how, carpentry isn't what he thought it was gonna be, and he's not very good at it. He doesn't think, and blah 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 blah. But the thing is, he's been doing this for what, a year?
A few months. A few months.
A few months. He's been doing it.
You're not going to be good at it.
He's been doing it
You're never good at
few
anything.
months as a 50-year-old man, and he expects to fucking pick up carpentry as easy as it is. Like it's some easy little skill, like fishing or something. Like, and even fishing, it takes patience and time and skills to learn. But he just expects to just pick it up. Let me.
Well, he
I'm
did
like,
say
what?
he did some carpeting back in the day before he started.
Oh, what, 30 years ago? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like he did it for like a year before he went and joined the army.
And so but I mean, to a degree, like, it's very, as always, Carl's very relatable. You feel like, yeah, I would be kind of tough. He kind of knows what he's actually there for, and you empathize, even though he doesn't consciously think about this. He's having a hard time getting out of the warrior mindset. He's basically just in his quiet moments. He doesn't know how to deal with it, so he just thinks about his fallen comrades, and that makes him depressed. And that does suck. I do feel for him there. I just, like, what did the bro expect? Did he not think this through at all? Correct. Apparently he did not think this through at all. It's like crazy to me.
Yeah,
Like, no forethought.
I think he was just in love with the fantasy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just sitting, sunny evenings, sitting on the bench and smoking your pipe and looking at the valley, and that's all it is. And then he's like, oh shit, I've actually got to learn how to do stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's not too thrilled with just like, he's not too thrilled with how like his retirement's going, just only because in the sense of like, he wish he was better at carpentry, right? But he's also, he remembers like the men he's buried and everything. And then as he is inside the house, it's evening time, he's working on this chair that he's not doing a good job of building. He hears a voice calling his name. Craw, are you in there, Craw? And he's like, oh, what the fuck? He's like, how does someone know I'm here? And so he kind of like, he grabs a sword because he still has that, right? And he peeks out the front door and he's like, what's going on here? And he sees 8 men and they're kind of fanned out, but they're not um,
Battle
threatening.
ready.
They're not threatening or anything. They just have some torches and stuff by the light. But once he sees who's close, he's like, oh, thank God. And so, the person that says, is that you, Craw? Craw goes, yep, yes, it is. Well, here's a surprise. And then Craw basically says, what are you after? Hard bread. So it's hard bread. He's made a return since we last saw him, and he's out here talking to Craw.
Hardbread is a man who does not know how to retire. Jesus Christ.
No, he's not.
Bro,
He's not.
this is a spoiler. I don't give a shit right now, but like, he does pop up again. He's like a 70-year-old man in Age of Madness. They're like, what are you still doing here, dude?
And so Hardbread asks if he could come inside the house, and Cross says, "Sure, you can, but your homies will have to stay out here." So Hardbread comes in, and he goes, "Well, because Mighty Scale." Hardbread says that Mighty Scale Iron Hand, King of the Northmen, has gone to war with Glamour Golden. And Carl, he laughs at this. He goes, huh, you mean Black Calder has? He goes, why? And he says, because Golden killed Carl Ricci, poisoned, and Golden did the deed, or at least Calder says it is, so Scale says it is. So it's close to a fact as anyone's going to get. And so that he says that all the North are lining up behind Bethod's sons, and Harbert has come to see if Crawl wants to line up too. And Crawl is confused because he goes, wait a minute, when did you start fighting for Calder and Scale? And Harbert goes, well, since the dogman hung up his sword and stopped paying. so then he goes, and Crawl says, well, Calder will never take me. But apparently it was Calder that sent Harbert in the first place. He's got Pale as Snow, Cairn Ironhead, and Wonderful as his war chiefs. Carl's like, Wonderful, what the fuck? And he goes, but Calder's lacking a name to stand second and lead his own Carls. He's in need of a straight edge, apparently. And he looks around. He goes, "But I don't think he'll be hiring you as a carpenter." That was
Nice
funny.
one, hard bread.
And Crawl, he stands there. He tries to wrap his head around it. He goes, he's been offered a place in a high place among people that he does understand and that would admire him, but it'll be back to the black business and trying to juggle the right thing and finding words over graves. So he tells Hardbread, "Look, I'm sorry that you came all this way for nothing, Hardbread, but the answer is no. Pass my apologies on to Calder. Sorry for this and for everything else, but I'm done. Tell him I'm done. Tell him I'm retired." Hardbread, he goes, "All right, it's a shame, but I'll pass it on. Just take care of yourself. It's not that many of us left that know the difference between the right thing and the wrong." And, so Hardbread leaves.
By the way, I do love that he says, "And what's that?" And
He
then
says,
Hopper
"What
goes,
difference?"
"Exactly." Yeah,
Right.
like yeah, it's the difference, and he's like, "Exactly." I
Mhm.
like that. I like that. Carl doesn't have a response. Like in a way, it's like like an unknown quantity, an unknown word
Well,
between them.
Crawl's the one that says what difference.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. But
Oh,
then
okay.
Hardbread's response to me is better because I feel like Hardbread like
Oh, he just like
Crawl
goes,
like
ah.
Crawl doesn't know the difference, and Crawl and basically Hardbread is like, oh yeah, there isn't one. It's kind of like his vibe, there isn't a difference, but
Yeah.
at least that's how I read it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And Hardbread leaves, right? And Crawl, he looks after him for a moment, and he's wondering if whether he was happy that the thumping of his heart was softening or sad. He's weighing his sword in his hand. Remember how it felt to hold it? It's different than a hammer, right? And he remembered three trees giving him the sword, and the pride he felt, and he smiled in spite of himself to remember what he used to be, how he was back in that day. And then he looked around the room, the few things he had in it, and he always thought retiring would be going back to his life after some nightmare pause, but it actually came to him that all his life that was worth living had happened while he was actually holding a sword, standing alongside his dozen, laughing with Weirin, Brack, Wonderful, clasping hands with his crew before the fight, knowing that he would die for them and they would die for him. The brotherhood, the trust, the love, closer than family, standing by three trees. The day he charged at the Cumnor and at Dunbreck and in the high places. Is the day he earned his name. All these things, and he's thinking about it, and he remembers what Weirin said, and he goes, "You can't live more than that, right? Than all the stuff that you go through in war and fighting, and certainly not by fixing a chair." And so he mutters to himself. He goes, "Ah, shit." So he grabs his sword belt, his coat, and he goes outside and closes the door. And he goes, "Hardbread, wait up!" And then that's the end of the chapter, boys. Looks like he's returning back to the fold. How do you rate that
I think
chapter?
I think that's really fucking tragic.
Me too.
Like he's pretty much institutionalized, right? He's lived his entire life in these patterns, and it's very hard to break out and just not miss it. You hear about these guys that go to prison for like 30 years, and they can't adapt once they come out of it.
Yeah.
So if you live that lifestyle for so long, I just think it's just so sad, isn't it? I don't particularly like Crawl, to be honest. He's not my favorite character.
Right.
Yeah,
But
me too.
this does make me feel for him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get you. It's both ways, right?
This and the fact that he never actually knew that girl that he was obsessed
Right,
with.
right, right. He never knew that girl. I mean, I think it's both. It could read both ways, right? Like on the tragedy of it, right? Like what you said, especially when we talked about this with Gorse chapter recent just before, where it's like, not doing the work to come to terms, right, with I guess like yourself, right,
Yeah.
and at least that general concept. But on the other hand, it's I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It isn't happiness or like joyful, but
It's bittersweet.
there is like a piece to the idea of like, there are people that search their entire lives for meaning, and then it's like way too late to realize, oh, the meaning was in the things that they were
Yeah,
doing
the
at the
journey.
moment. And so that's what kind of Crawl comes to realize. So I'm like, it's a little bit of both, I think. You know, I mean, like if the man has been a warrior, he's gonna die a warrior, right? That's just the name of the game. You know.
Yeah,
So
I think that ironically, now that he's done the retired thing, he's actually going to fully embrace just living and being a soldier rather than being all like, "Oh, I should have married that girl.
yeah,
Oh, if only I could retire." And
yeah,
I think there is some peace in that with his own character realizing that
yeah.
he's letting go of that now, and
Mhm.
he did give it a try, but I also agree with George at the same time as well that it is like you said, it's like kind of a prison, don't know how to go back, and he only gives it a couple months,
Mhm.
and it's I don't know the fact that he desired to do something different and then hasn't really done it worth very much time is kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, damn.
Mhm.
But I think it is the perfect close out to the book
Oh, it
because
is. It
obviously
absolutely is.
this is the end of the book, and it's perfectly bittersweet and just
Yeah.
on the nose,
It,
Joe.
what would you give it, George? What would you rate it?
um, I don't like this one as much as the other two. I'm only going to
Yeah.
give it a 7.
7. Okay. Harrison.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But honestly, I'm gonna be more harsh on it. I give it a 5. I think it fits well for the end of the book, but I also don't feel like out of all his endings, I feel like this is one of his weaker ones, to be totally honest. So a
And
lot
like
of Joe
in terms of
usually
the book
finishes.
endings.
Yeah, and I think that, and I don't mean like in the way that a lot of the people, newer readers come to it and they're like, ah, it didn't end the way I expected it to. I don't mean like that. I just feel like it's not as strong. Like it
Mm,
does fit well into the hero's story and all
yeah.
of that. It fits great. But like you compare it to some of the other endings, satisfying or not, and this is it's kind of like, oh yeah, Craw. Oh, he's going back to war. Oh, that symbolism. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, like you could switch this chapter with Beck's chapter
Yes.
in the
Yes.
order, and I wouldn't notice.
You could switch
Yeah.
it with any of the last POV areas, and it'd just be like, okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I get that. I mean, I do agree with George that this is like a good, very good ending for this book.
yeah.
And it
It
ties into
It
the
started with Crawl, ended with Crawl, right?
right, right, and it ties into the thematic elements of the book so far. So yeah, but I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 9 fingers. I like the chapter. Not Crawl isn't one of my favorites either, but I don't hate the guy. But it was nice. I was like, all right. It looks like things don't change for some folks, which is a very common theme for Joe's characters. So all right. Well, that's the end of the heroes coverage, and next week, the next episode will be us doing our spoiler review of the book, which will be fun. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support means oh so much to us.
Join us next week as we do our special spoiler episode.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media or shoot us an email at circleoftheworldpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. And please make sure to rate and review us. Thank you all again for listening.
You're a hero.